Well, welcome back to the continuing story about our young Viking hero Hiccup and his discovery of the God self within. As we continue the theme of chaos to calm in our season of faith, you might remember that last week Reverend Mike focused on the hero's level of commitment. He suggested that we take a look at our own inner and outer lives and what commitments we have for developing, creating our unique experience in life. I heard a lot of positive feedback about that topic from many of you this past week. So who's actually doing it? Who is making the commitment to look at your commitments? Okay. And then are you taking it one step further to do something about it? I'm glad to see so many nodding heads and show of hands. In the science mind philosophy, our number one tool is affirmative prayer. We use it to create a life and everything in it. And you also get to do your part. Treat, pray, and move your feet. As we move forward, we may sometimes come up against challenges, obstacles, resistance, a conflict of some kind, perhaps. Whether it's outside of ourselves or our own inner fears and human thinking. Anyone ever notice that? Yes, of course. So how do we handle those moments of doing battle? Pray, yes. Maybe pray a little more passionately, more often, with more clarity. And I invite you to surrender. No, it sounds kind of counterintuitive. Like just the opposite of what we might actually need. But hear me out. As we go through another segment of the story today, I'm sure it'll become obvious to you about why surrender is really the only thing you can do in moments of confusion and struggle. And to help us see this more clearly, let's return to Hiccup and a few issues he was facing. As we learned from Reverend Mike, Hiccup managed to find the Night Fury dragon, which he named Toothless. He befriended the creature, and then he made this tail contraption that would allow the dragon to fly again, but only if Hiccup was on his back. Only if Hiccup was in control of the contraption, the mechanism, that allowed the dragon to be steered in a certain direction that Hiccup wanted to go, for the most part. The dragon supplied the power, the wings, the energy to do battle, but Hiccup was in charge. He was in the driver's seat. Hiccup had dominion over the dragon, for the most part. And isn't this what we want to do with our own lives? Is it a good idea to have dominion over our fears, our insecurities, our language and behaviors? Of course it is. And as I look around the room today, I don't see anyone now under the age of 10, which means pretty much everyone here has likely been taught something about how to behave in society, about manners and social etiquette and cultural graces, right? By the time we reach a certain level of maturity, we give up throwing ourselves on the floor and having temper tantrums, once performed when we were a toddler, for the most part. Yes, we all did it. Maybe we even still have a temper tantrum from time to time, except now we call it drama. I don't know how many times I've gotten caught up in my own story of how the world has been so hard on me, how people don't do what I want them to do, when I want them to do it, blah, 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 blah. That mode of behavior and reaction to life's challenges is resistance, victimness, confusion, blame. And frankly, it's not how I want to experience life in this body or on this earth. When it happens, if I am to have dominion over my thinking and behaviors, I need to recognize what I'm doing and stop before behavior comes from me. I need to stay aware, stay connected to my God self, so I can respond from that divine center, the true nature of my being. Respond from love and good. So what are we to do instead of tantrums? Surrender. Let's go back to Hiccup and see how he did it. Hiccup is now flying around in secret on the back of Toothless, the Night Fury Dragon. He's sneaking away from his friends, taking different paths through the forest so that no one can follow him and find out where he's keeping Toothless, hidden, recovering, living. Hiccup is going against tradition in doing this, against race consciousness, simply because he didn't kill the dragon when he had the chance. He spared his life instead. And then he started training it, working with it. He's going against tradition because he's helping him to fly again. He built that contraption for his tail. And through the wing, he is now bonding with this dreaded and fearful dragon. Hiccup is actually playing with Toothless. He's learning from him. And what he is learning is also helping him in other parts of his life. You may recall from what Reverend Mike mentioned last week that Hiccup's father ordered him to begin training with Gobber, Hiccup's teacher, and the rest of the village youngsters, training to be dragon slayers, not dragon tamers. So each day, Hiccup goes into the arena, picks up a shield, maybe a spear or an axe, and along with the rest of his friends, who still don't think very much of him and whom he has not told about his pet, each day Hiccup is instructed in the ways and means to slay dragons. But something isn't working the way Gobber and his friends expect. Hiccup keeps asking questions about how to save the dragons, how to understand them better. Perhaps they could modify the behavior of these dragons or themselves. Because Hiccup has surrendered preconceived ideas about Toothless, he has opened himself up to learning things about this dragon, what he likes, and as he discovers what other dragons like too. For example, it seems that dragons are afraid of black and yellow striped eels. So Hiccup brings one into the training arena one day, hidden inside his coat, his vest. Hiccup is able to subdue, have dominion over a two-headed dragon that's used as part of the exercise. He very secretly shows the two-headed dragon the yellow eel he's got tucked underneath his jacket. And this two-headed dragon sees it and immediately starts retreating back into the arena cave where he lives, where he's kept. Not a sword is raised, no fire, nothing. And the instructor and the students are amazed at his dominion, his power over this creature. Their mouths are hanging open as he walks away. Lesson's over. Another time, after watching how Toothless loves rolling around in the fresh grass, even more than flying, it seems, Hiccup brings a handful of grass into the arena. And during that training session, another different monstrous dragon is subdued by the scent of fresh grass. Each time, Hiccup surrenders what he thinks he knows, what he's been told his entire life by everyone around him, what's in the dragon manual too. He surrenders the way his ego has always reacted. He surrenders all of that and allows his intuition to guide him in a different and new direction. When he follows that intuition, the dragons, the class, the pressure of having to learn to slay these magnificent creatures all fall by the wayside. And he gets to go and do what he loves to do, fly around in the skies with his dragon, expressing freedom. How cool is that? I'm going to stop here for a moment. And let's take a look at the popular definition of the word to give something up to another. Another source said to agree to stop fighting, hiding, resisting, etc. Or to give the control or use of something to someone else. Those are probably the definitions we're most familiar with. And along with those definitions, through race consciousness understandings, we've been taught that surrender is weak. It's not usually something that's respected. That's the human thinking perspective, isn't it? That's the ego voice, the inner critic. That part of us that thinks the only way to survive is to prove we are right. And to make sure that everyone around us knows we are right and they are wrong in some way. Poppycock. Such nonsense. When we continue to buy into that foolishness, and I'm sorry to say, I still do from time to time, when we allow ourselves to be guided by that human ego voice, we're in trouble. We stand a much better chance of living a serene and harmonious life when we surrender that critical voice. Just give it up. Simple, not necessarily easy. Surrender it and start tapping into the divine intelligence that is within you, always. Release that battling human will and embrace the inner knowing, the God self within, to guide and direct you. Open yourself up to new ideas and possibilities. Because what I know to be true, for me, when I get attached to only seeing the world or doing things in the world my way, I'm limiting myself. Big time. Of course, there are times when what I know and have experienced in doing can greatly contribute to a project or a cause. Yet it's just one way. And depending on the circumstance, maybe it's the correct approach for that instance, for whatever reason. Keep in mind, just like there are many paths to the one God, to enlightenment, to a greater spiritual understanding and awareness, there are many ways of doing life. We saw last week when Reverend Mike took off his tie. He's going to do minister in a different way. There are different ways of being a practitioner, a student, a volunteer, a congregant. There are many ways of learning how to do your job or your career, and I don't even have to know what you do. I just know there are many ways to do it. Whatever the expression is we each have in the world, as unique as it may be, and it's all unique, whatever the expression, it's all God. It all comes from the same invisible stuff and is manifested through the same universal law that we all get to use over and over again. Here are a couple passages from the Science Mind textbook that speak to this. The stuff out of which our human bodies are made is the same etheric substance from which all things are made. The one mind conceives all things. From unity, which is the one, back of all things, through the one law, which is the medium of all action. Multiplicity is manifested, but the many never contradict the unity of the whole. When we realize that we are dealing with an infinite intelligence and with an infinite law within this intelligence, we see that no limit should be placed upon the creative principles. Body means the entire manifestation of spirit on all planes, and the physical universe is the body of God. Holmes also stated, we should claim our dominion and power in spirit. In spirit. We are all made out of the same stuff. Everyone and everything is made out of the invisible into the visible, through divine intelligence, through universal law, and into form or body, the physical universe. From ideas and thoughts come form of some kind. We are in this world, this body of God. We weren't just plopped on this planet from some far-off supreme being to figure things out on our own, without any guidance or direction. We're not separate from God. Surrender to that inner knowing, your God manual, and stop doing battle with the world. It truly doesn't need to be so hard. One of my favorite quotes by Ralph Waldo Emerson is, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters to what lies inside us." You know, I still need to be reminded about the idea of surrender from time to time. I still want to hear that I'm a child of God, that I have access to this infinite and divine power of creation. I need to direct and create the life I choose. I choose. You choose for you. Didn't expect that. Once you decide to claim dominion over the weary, to surrender beliefs and ideas that no longer serve you, no longer serve the person you're becoming, to set your intentions and declare them in prayer, then allow life to unfold. Do your part, yes, but allow. Once you experience creation through that process, as I have, and as many other people in this room have experienced, as we hear in our miracle manifestations each month, the more successfully and consciously you do it that way, the harder it is to go back to the drama style of life. And frankly, there are likely to be folks around you who won't want you to claim that control of your own life in some aspect. They'll still want to control you or have influences about you. It can be a difficult situation. Please know this. Once you become a dragon tamer, it's no longer necessary to be a dragon slayer. You don't have to. You don't need to. And that's what Hiccup learned from Toothless, from something he once feared. And through facing his fear, he walked away from negative conversations repeatedly. He followed his intuitive guidance by surrendering old beliefs that no longer served the person he was becoming. He learned how to be a higher expression of himself. And he did it at the risk of losing the love of the people around him, including his father. In fact, once Stoic the Vast, the village's macho leader and protector, found out that his son had rescued Toothless and was not willing to kill a dragon of any kind, he pretty much disowned Hiccup. He said he would no longer call him his son. I know what that's like, to lose the love and support of a parent because of religious belief differences. It's hard. It hurts. Obviously, there's still some healing to be done. So Stoic takes Toothless, chains him to the deck of one of the Viking ships, and off they sail without Hiccup to find the secret island and the deadly dragon monster king that rules all the dragons. Because once they find that one, once they destroy that one, the villagers, the Vikings, feel like they will have control of their life. And another battle ensues for the Vikings and for Hiccup. But we're going to save that for next week, so it'll be the last part of our series. Before we close today, I want to clear up whatever confusion there may be over the idea of dominion. While its definition is about ruling and controlling, having dominion is not about controlling other people. It's about control over your thoughts, your words, your behaviors, no matter what other people are saying, doing, or behaving. I know, another challenge for all of us, right? I get to work on this regularly and often. And sadly, I'm not always as successful as I would like to be. When I mess up, I get to make amends, apologize, explain my behavior, redo it over possibly. And that's hard to do at times. Because if I would just exercise dominion over my mouth, my thoughts first, I wouldn't have to be making amends. I wouldn't have to explain myself. If I stopped worrying about what other people are doing, no matter if it directly impacts my life or not, and just trusted that my God self is going to put me in the right place at the right time and have the right words to say, and live there in every moment from that divine loving center, I'd have a lot more mental energy and focus to create my life, and probably with a lot less stress. The fact is, we do interact with people on a daily basis. Our buttons get pushed. It happens. We have attachments to the way we think things ought to be done and managed. We get our knickers in a bunch, and we say what's on our minds, and it's not always nice. So clean it up as quickly as you can. Be more aware of your thoughts. Speak only kindness and loving things to and about people. And if you are confused about something, go direct to the person about what you're having confusion. Your buttons might get pushed, but you get to decide if they're turned on or off. No matter what is going on, watch what your interpretation of it is. If there's a question, clear it up. Don't let it fester and get bigger in your mind. Don't assume anything. And yes, it will take courage to face some people. Heck, it takes courage to face myself sometimes. I don't want to admit I have faults. Do you? Of course not. But the cool thing is we are so much more than our faults, or even what we give ourselves credit for. We are individualized expressions of God. And when you keep your awareness and day-by-day focus on that, when you come from your divine source, you will know love and peace and harmony and joy and unity, your God self. Because we are all one in God. All we have to do is act like it, be it, surrender to it. Let's have a prayer.